Hey y'all, and welcome to chapter 4. We are going to split this chapter in two, inside and outside, and today we're going to start with inside. By now, we should know that ISO, aperture, and shutter speed affect the amount of light detected, but also serve a specific purpose. So, today we are going to use this subject to show how to combine all settings to take the best pictures. We're going to start with the still subject, as you guys can see here, with artificial light and start moving our settings around. My suggestion is move the settings around as the situation calls for it. Here I have all the time in the world and I know it's a still object, so I can go directly to shutter speed and put it on low. Next, I want to take the whole area, so I'm going to go straight to my aperture and raise it up until I'm somewhat okay with the light. And right there, I think it looks all right. Lastly, I got my ISO. Personally, I like to keep it low, but in this case, I think if we raise it up just a bit right there, I feel like that looks perfect. We're going to go ahead and take a picture of the whole thing. Everything's going to be pretty clear, except the outside of the black might be a little bit blurry, but that's fine. We're focusing on just the image. It's pretty clear. I don't feel like we're going to need to add light on Photoshop either. So let's go ahead and take the picture there at 125 second shutter speed, f10 in aperture, and ISO is 320 as we can see from the camera. We'll take the picture and show it to you guys at the end. So now that we have a base on the settings, let's do a quick exercise and not put your settings to where only one subject is the main focus. You can pick whichever subject you want, right? So what are we going to adjust in this case? That's right. We're gonna adjust the aperture because the aperture is the one that moderates the area on what it chooses to focus on, right? So in this case, let's go ahead and take our aperture. Sorry, that was our shutter speed. Let's take our aperture down. Now, of course, it has to deal with light, so we're getting more light. Let's go ahead and go a cool 5.0. That sounds good. Next, we're gonna go to my ISO. I can obviously see it's too high, so let's go to our lowest setting, which is 200. And now let's go ahead and bump our shutter speed up a little bit. Again, that's our aperture. There you go. Let's go bump up our shutter speed. That way, it's not too bright because I can barely see ghosts right here. Zero right here. Okay, that's much better. That's definitely much better. All right, so now we have 5.0 aperture f5, right? 1 over 250 seconds shutter speed, and our ISO returned down to 200. Why? Because now we're only focusing on one specific thing, not the whole thing, right? Okay, so a little bit more interesting, right? Now we have a moving subject, which is actually why this setting is my favorite shutter speed, right? But obviously, as we just saw from the first example, ISO and aperture are just as important as shutter speed, right? Everything pretty much is let's get the lighting correct. All right, so let's keep the settings how it was, where we only focus on one thing, but now we're gonna capture it moving, right? So what do? The first thing we have to do is get our shutter speed up, right? Because this is a moving subject. In this case, it's not moving too fast, right? So I think at 640 should be plenty fast, right? But obviously, as we can see, our light went down. Since we wanna only focus on one subject, we're gonna go ahead and leave our aperture alone. That means we're gonna go ahead and go on to our next, which is our ISO, and bring it up 5. You know what? I think 5 looks a little 500 ISO looks better. I think 6 might be a little bit too much. All right, so now here's the thing about moving subjects, right? You have to wait to get them on that one spot, right? So here we go. It's coming around. Let's go ahead and take a picture. Here we have our first picture. As you can see, all subjects are focused because we have f10 aperture. Since it's not moving, our shutter was slow at 1 over 125 seconds, and our ISO went up to 320 to balance out the dark from the aperture and the light from the shutter speed. Our second picture with the same non-moving object, but now focusing on one area, we see our aperture went down to 5, f5, giving us more light, making us turn down our ISO to 200.
Our last picture, which is our moving subject, we see our shutter speed went up to 1/642, which takes away light. So we put up our ISO to 500. And since we are still only focusing in one area, our aperture stays the same. Our suggestion is to go try out that last photograph with a moving subject, but now you want to catch the whole area, right? And if you guys want, send it over to us. We would be glad to take a look at it. And if there's anything we can do to help you out, we will do it. And obviously, come back to chapter 4, our second part, which is going to be outside.